did you see in the optical and lab experience for independent practices that made launching this lens and lab initiative necessary?
I think it's several things, but the most important is the complexity, just the sheer complexity of the space. And I wonder sometimes if it's complex intentionally to make it opaque to the consumer, the ultimate customer of the practice, to make it more difficult in some ways so that they feel like it's harder to change and it's scary to change. And we're trying to just show that not only can it be simple and effective for your margins, for your patient, for your practice, but that it's not scary to change. You can slowly implement our lens and lab solution into the practice, or you can completely switch over and it will make it easy for you. So I'm trying to make it easier and less complex.
I think there's a belief that you can't have it all, which is a natural human condition. You think you can't have quality and you can't have low price, and as an industry we've probably conditioned people to believe that. But I think now, because of the investment in IDOC that has given members access to a global supply chain that has been set up with the sole purpose of supporting optometry business owners, you can actually have it all. Now, I don't expect people to believe that easily, and hopefully people will try and get to believe it. But yeah, it's a difficult thing to believe that you can have great patient outcomes and at a price that means that you can either pass value on to your patients or to your bottom line, however you want to do it. But yeah, it's an exciting thing to try and convince the members.
What fundamentally changes for a practice when lenses, lab support, and strategy are designed specifically for independence and not just scaled down from the big box models?
I think what changes is the purpose behind it. And I know a lot of people talk about purpose, and it's something that can sometimes be a little bit airy-fairy, but in most instances, the offerings out there are not designed to specifically meet the needs of an independent optometry business owner. There are other interests, whether it be private equity ownership or big box chains or multiple interests in ownership. I think what's different here is access to a supply chain that has genuinely been designed and run and evolved over the last 40 years to meet the needs of optometry business owners so that they can fulfill the needs of their patients in a more effective way.
Ultimately, what we're doing is starting from our customer and their feedback and building up instead of trying to take something that already exists and then trying to make it fit. We see that a lot in technology and IT in optometry. There's something that already exists and then we try to shoehorn it into our industry, inventory management systems and other softwares. And it's more difficult, it's more clunky, it's harder for the practice, and it doesn't ultimately do exactly what they need it to do. But what we've done is spend the time to listen to what our customer actually wants and needs, and then hear what they're not saying as well, and then provide them the solution that maybe they don't even know that they want, but then they see it and then they understand.
When you talk to ODs today, what frustrations, going back to your listening piece, what are they voicing most about labs? How did those realities shape the way you approach this new offering or are approaching this new offering?
Optometry is ultimately a people business. If you think about being an optometrist, you're a business owner and you're a doctor, but you are patient-facing all day, every day. There isn't a lot of back office. You're in the exam lane one-on-one with your patient. And so when we think about the lab space and the complexity that we talked about earlier, and you think about their number one pain point right now, which is their people, newer people, a lot of staff turnover, and in a people business, that's the disruptive element when you're having issues in that area. Those pain points are being experienced by frame companies, labs, contact lens companies across the industry as we look at the changing workforce. So support from the lab is something that we are hearing. So when you have an inexperienced optician team and then you have an inexperienced lab team, the support breaks down and the communication and training breaks down. And that's something that we provide and is really top of mind for us, along with the lens range. So you create simplification that's easily understood by the opticians, communicated by the lab team, and then they can easily work together to be effective.
Now, I think that, simplicity cuts right across the equipment. Wouldn't it be great if a practice could have a lens regional lab solution that the practice manager and the OD owner and everyone else involved can all agree on? They've made the right decision, and that's something that they no longer have to worry about, because there's enough that ODs and practice managers have to worry about running a practice every day, and we just want to make some of that decision making simpler, both for them and for their patients.
This initiative feels as much cultural as it is technical. We kind of talked about this. How do IDOC's lenses and lab services reinforce the broader idea of independent together? A little bit of redundancy, but more about that culture.
I think being independent is really tough when you feel that the world is raged against you. And one thing that this demonstrates, I hope, and will demonstrate over the coming months and years as we give IDOC members more access to the global supply chain, is there is someone on your side, and you can have strength together by having someone who's got your back. There's no shareholders here, there's no other interests other than championing optometry business owners, and through them helping change the lives of their patients through better sight. It's true, it's real, it's genuine. We absolutely mean it, and I hope that all IDOC members will feel that over the coming months and years.
I think for me, the cultural shift within IDOC, having been here for 10 years prior to the investment, is visceral, it's real. And it's really two things. One, it's speed to market. And if you think about being in an independent practice, waiting a year for a solution that you've asked for can be incredibly detrimental. A practice can go out of business in a year. So if they need something and we're able to bring it to market more quickly through our supply chain access that we have, our economies of scale that we have access to now, that's critical for an independent practice, an independent business of any kind. And the other is what Matt touched on, which is not being afraid to drive down the wholesale price where it needs to be. And I have been asked by our members, Susan, you of all people, talking about less expensive wholesale products. Why? Because I'm the one that's always said you need to increase your average frame sale, increase your average revenue per patient. We are facing unique economic times right now, and that's why IDOC exists. We existed to help practices through 2020. We're existing now to help them through an economic roller coaster, and things change. And that's why we're here, to anticipate the trends, to anticipate the economic changes, and help them see those in advance before they become a problem in the practice. And now we can provide solutions in real time to address those issues.
What should independent optometrists expect this platform to unlock for them, i.e., products, confidence, differentiation?
There are two ways to grow a practice. You can reduce your cost of goods, your expenses, but you also have to grow the top line. And there are different ways to do that. You can do that per patient, or you can grow your patient base. And we want more patients to engage with the independent practice. Capture rates right now for frames are at the 39% range. For lenses, they're at 48%. So conservatively, half of the patients are not being served and closing the care loop within their optometric practice. And what we see in the data is that when a patient purchases online, the next thing they do is return to an independent practice. So that's showing up across the US, that's the trend, and there's a reason for that. There are many reasons for that. So ultimately, what we're looking to do is not just help them save on what they're doing today, but also to help them capture more patients in the practice, to provide more eye care to their patients, which is what they ultimately want.
I think there's also something about confidence. So that the Clerra range, it's designed to give confidence that it will suit 90% of your dispensing needs. You can have technology because of the access to the size and scale of the supply chain, and then at a price that, every practice is different. It's up to you what you decide to do with that. For some people, it might be about having a competitive advantage, passing it to their patients. For others, it might be supporting their margins. But it's confidence and it's choice.
And any last things that you would love them to know, or any quotable quotes? You guys, this was great. I actually, even if the camera doesn't share this, pretty compelling for me. So
I think what Chad Foster spoke about this morning, the piece that I took away was you can't see what you can't see. And I think if there was no better pun for optometry, I think that's a good one.
right.
As a former business owner, it is critical to constantly evaluate what you're doing in your business. Am I doing the right thing? I just talked to a practice today who said they were too slow to look at their markup strategy when the tariffs were introduced, when cost of goods started to increase, and now they're feeling it, and their cost of goods percentage has risen to a point where now they're under some economic pressure. So what I ask is look at it, look at Clerra, look at the range, consider it, how it fits, if it fits, and if nothing else, use that to evaluate what you're currently doing in the practice so that you can see what you can't currently see.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I'd add is there can sometimes be a lot of cynicism in any industry, especially when people feel under threat. And I'll just say that sometimes it's not too good to be true, and just give it a go.
Yeah.
Someone is on your side.